Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards. Welcome to InFocus, a weekly program where we zoom in on what's happening within and throughout the government, your government. The St. Kitts Music Festival was established in 1996. It was a seed that was planted to help spur economic activity and has undoubtedly sprouted into an internationally recognized magical extravaganza. Over the years, some of the world's greatest entertainers have graced the main stage, reflecting all genres of music. On today's program, we welcome the Honorable Marsha Henderson, Minister with responsibility for the St. Kitts Music Festival. Minister Henderson will discuss plans to new innovations that will be introduced for this year's festival, as well as strategies to enhance the overall experience for patrons, vendors, and others. Stay with us as we delve into your government, your business. Welcome back to InFocus. We'd like to introduce and welcome back to InFocus the Honorable Marsha Henderson, Minister with Responsibility of Tourism and, of course, the St. Kitts Music Festival. Minister, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ian. It is always good to be here.
And I have to say, I appreciate you being here today as we're on the eve of the St. Kitts Music Festival. I know it's an incredibly busy time for you.
Right,
You made the time for us to be here, and we appreciate that so much.
Right.
So, can you start off, we'll start off very broad, Minister. If you would explain to us the experience, or describe for us the experience that's set to be the 2024 St. Kitts Music Festival experience.
Right, so our persons who've been here before, first-time visitors can expect an electrifying experience. This is our 26th edition of the music festival, and our crew, they're in place working, putting on the final touches at the stadium, at the Warner Park Stadium. Artists are already on the ground. It promises to be a good year. And so we're looking forward to extravagant performances, a venue. We're prioritizing safety, of course, of our patrons, and it is going to be an experience like no other. We keep saying it's where music meets paradise, but beyond this stage, there's also an experience where we're going to be featuring and showcasing our local delicacy on the Festival Village, which is on the second field, the second stage, that is on the Warner Park, the football field. So the event is going to be on the cricket field, and that's the main stage. But the second stage with the food village, is the festival village, is going to be on the second field. So we're going to be displaying our local culinary. We have a number of vendors there who are also preparing to wow our visitors and our locals with the local delicacies. So beyond the stage, beyond the music, there is also a showcase of cultural immersion as well. Outside of the music festival, there are a number of events that are happening as well that we have put in place to accommodate not just our locals but visitors. So today we're having afternoon acoustics as we speak.
Right, but before you jump into that,
right,
because of course I want to be more specific later on to get
right
into a lot of those things. That
okay, so we're going to prepare yourself for an extravagant time at the 6th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival, where music meets paradise.
Right, and that's a very interesting catchphrase that I like very much, and it's featured prominently on the poster. But before we get more into what's expected this year, Minister, let's look back a bit. As you mentioned, of course, it's been 26 years. So how would you say the past 25 years of the festival has shaped this year's celebration?
Right. What we would say the past 25 years, we've created a product. It's not just a stage show, but it has enhanced our tourism product. This music festival, the event, it has built over the years. It has helped us to be strategic with the selection of artists, and even to build on what a number of visitors have said they would like to see at the festival. So the second stage, as well as the 420 space, those things have been created out of the experiences over the past 25 years, and we continue to consult with our stakeholders, the persons we continue to work with, to see how we can continue to grow the product.
What makes the St. Kitts Music Festival so unique that it has ensured its success over the past 25 years?
Right, that's an excellent question. The sustainability of the festival, it's a sustainable solution, because it's not just a jazz festival. It's not just a reggae festival, but it's a festival that caters for all. And so we have something for everybody. We have all genres of music. In fact, when the festival started back in 1996, we even used to have a gospel night. And that has been reintroduced, not at the stadium, but with a partner. And last year and this year we partnered with the Antioch Baptist Church, and they had the gospel concert for us on Sunday. We partnered with them and we had the gospel night. But the festival is unique because we feature all genres of music. In addition to that, we're not just selling the festival, but when we sell the festival, we sell the festival and the destination. So when we go, we're saying, hey, we have this really good product. And when you come, you can also see, eat our local food, go to our beaches. And so it's sustainable, not because it's just another stage show, but it's a formula that, that works. Because if you're into jazz, you can get that. If you're into dancehall, we have that. If you're into soca, we have that. If you're into whatever you're into, hip hop, we have that. So the formula has worked for us.
What goes into crafting a successful music festival annually? Because, of course, people's tastes change.
Right.
There are various things that has to be considered. Of course, you have to look at maybe who are the right persons to target, and that would be on the main stage, and also in the background as well, to helping to build the festival, helping to shape things. What goes into it? If you could just walk us a bit through the process.
Right. At this time, allow me just to thank the volunteers, the persons who continue to give their service over the years, and they show up, they volunteer, they offer, sometimes at no cost, to help in the successful execution of the festival. And so that is one of the things, the help and the volunteers who continue to work with us in executing a successful music festival. But Ian, what's important is the strategic selection of the artists and who we're catering to. That's another issue. So when the festival is intended to bring visitors to our shows, when it was created during what we call the dull period, the slow period, the downtime. And we usually see an uptick in visitors from October, which is going into winter, to around spring, which is April. And so we needed a formula to fill the seats and to put heads in the beds. Mm-hmm. And so we created the music festival just for that reason. So what is important then? Who are we targeting to fill those seats? Who are we targeting to fill those beds at the hotels? And so our biggest source market happens to be the US. And so we look to see what's relevant in those markets. Similarly, the second biggest source market is the region. And so you look to see what's relevant, what's trending in those markets. And that is the starting point. And so yes, people would say, what happened to, let's say for example, all of our local acts are trending. For me, the locals, if you ask them, they would want a show with all locals. But the festival is intended, however, to bring visitors to our shores and at the same time expose our local talent on the international stage. So we look at what's relevant, we look at solid artists who can actually give you a solid performance. So this year we have like a Freddie Jackson. He may not have anything new, but Freddie Jackson can give you a solid performance. Similarly, Third World, they're on the Friday nights. They may not have had any new album, but if you've gone to a reggae show, Third World, they can give you a solid hits, half the hits. And that is what determines, those are some of the things we look at when we are trying to execute a successful show.
And these are acts, of course, that go to Europe and go to the US and so on. They have their own concerts, their own tours.
Absolutely. And that is, a visitor would say, let me take my money, book a ticket to St. Kitts for the music festival. And those are the things we look at. Of course, we also cater to our locals, and so we do our own assessment as to who we should put on the show, and of course give everyone an opportunity to be exposed to the international stage. So the successful planning is the volunteers, the selection of artists, the money. We get a lot of licks this year. This is the time for me to say it. But the music festival happens to fall under a government ministry, and the government has structure in place. So I can't just go up to the Ministry of Finance and say, hey, we want $10 million for the festival. There's a process. And the process happens to start the year before. So this year, we are going to go to estimate discussions. And at the end of the year, we're going to go into Parliament. Persons who pay attention, they would see us begging, don't say begging, but advocating for funds to be allocated for us to execute our mandates in our ministries. And so the music festival is listed as one. So last year, the funds that we have this year, we had to budget for them last year. So planning starts way ahead. But then we still have to wait for monies to be released to us. And when it's released is when it's available to spend. So, you know, it takes proper planning, especially since it falls on the government. It's not a private event. It falls all the other procedures that apply for government in terms of securing and procuring monies. The same things have to be done for the music festival. It's new to me because I came out of private practice, and if I want $10, you just write a check, but you have to go through every single thing. So it takes a number of things to make sure that the event is successfully executed. Planning is one of the major things. Looking to see which artists are relevant. Of course, the volunteers who continue to give up their time and resources in the execution of the event. And those are some of the things that would help in the successful execution.
Sticking on the financial part, is it difficult to get to negotiate with the Ministry of Finance for the funds?
Well, what we are required to do at estimates is look at the projects that you intend to execute in that fiscal year, right? And say what monies you anticipate you need. Of course, government has priorities, and our job in tourism is to show to not just the government and the people when we go to budget discussions, but to make the case that the investment in the music festival is going to have a return, and a good return. There's going to be some sort of return on these monies that would impact the economy. And so what we're doing this year, we didn't get a chance to do it last year, is an economic impact assessment. It's been done over some of the years, and that shows that the gate receipts alone is not an indication of the success of the music festival. The product is, so it's in tourism, and we look at the other things to measure success, such as occupancy rates in the hotels. We look at filling the seats on the flights. We look at promotion of the destination, which is another big thing, because it's also used as a marketing tool. So last year, when you saw all those stories that we got out of the music festival, from influencers, media houses that we bring down to cover the festival, that puts and gives the destination some visibility. And that is another way to mark success.
All right, it's a question that I actually had to ask you next in terms of what informs the marketing strategy of the St. Kitts Music Festival, because of course, as you mentioned, there is that negotiation that has to take place with the Ministry of Finance in terms of applying that you need these funds, but the funds isn't necessarily just to host the festival, it also is to market the festival.
Right, and so you're right, Ian. It is done by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, which is the authority is responsible for marketing and promoting the destination. We in the ministry create the product, so we create the festival, and then they go out and sell it in the source markets. And so the marketing, we look at where we want to sell the festival, where are we getting people to come from to fill the seats. So for example, we just had we have 3 flights for JetBlue. We have to fill those seats.
That's per week.
Per week. And if you've been following our press conferences from tourism, you'd see we have an extension of flights. Remember, I started by saying that we have a slow season. What we're finding, and it's part of our objective, is that the destination is being converted into not a seasonal destination, but a year-round destination. So our marketing strategies are usually then just limited to that slow period. So we put a lot of resources there. And now we are finding we have to now be marketing and pushing the brand, the St. Kitts brand, and the campaigns in the slow period, because we now have airlift. We have additional flights, we have extension of flights, and those seats have to be filled. So the marketing has to be ramped up. You know, we have to compete now with other destinations who were getting those seats filled, who are getting those visitors. We now have to market and get these seats filled at this time.
Okay, and how do you rationalize or determine, okay, how much to spend locally? Because, of course, persons attending from St. Kitts and Nevis, quite frankly, the gate receipt does not cover the St. Kitts Music Festival. I think that is something that has to be established right away. And don't care if you can take out all of those vendor areas, the VVIPs, it still won't be enough, because the population is only
you're understanding, you're talking sense. We should bring it on with us.
And so how do you justify then, okay, I'm going to spend this portion on the local market, I'm going to spend this portion regional, international? How do you determine that?
Right, and that was a question I was asked, I think, by one of the media persons, because they were knocking us in the ministry. And yes, we got out of the gates late this year for a number of reasons. So they were saying, you know, they're not feeling the hype on the ground, and, you know, we're not putting enough resources in the local market, the local marketing. Now, if you understand, and sometimes I'm amazed when the people who say these things, I'm amazed at the people who say it, who should know better. The product is sold not here in St. Kitts. I mean, yes, we depend on our locals as well to help with the gate receipts, but it's intended to be sold outside. We export it. And so the resources have to be allocated accordingly. So we have to spend money on selling it in the UK, sell money and put resources in selling it in the US markets, and even in the regional markets. So if you've been following, we've been doing a lot of interviews regionally. We did some Barbados, Trinidad, Dominica. We've done a number of interviews, and we've done a number in the US and even in the UK. And so most of the resources, of course, will be allocated there. Of course, there's a different objective in the local market. The local market is to build hype, create a buzz, get the energy on the grounds. But the amount of resources you allocate there absolutely won't be the same as the amount of resources allocated in the other source markets. So
how do you counter that? How do you create that hype without the marketing aspect of it?
Well, we have this year we have a local marketing team, and their responsibility was basically to build the hype, build ticket sales. You know how our people are, we don't buy tickets until late. So if you start building the hype from January, ticket sales on the ground, you're not going to get ticket sales until June. So you have to determine, and that's a call, it's a judgment call, whether you start pumping resources from January. People still won't buy those tickets. I mean, but you start creating a hype early enough. The trick is creating the hype early enough to get in the local markets. There's a difference in the regional markets and the international markets. That has to be out there 6 months for people to start booking flights and, you know, making a determination. So it's it's all strategic.
Right, and I also was looking at the local news last night, and there would have been an ad that is running regionally. It's playing in the St. Kitts market because we have a company, and I won't mention the company, but they were actually advertising the loan that persons can access their company to get a loan to come to the St. Kitts Music Festival. And that's running regionally, so that is where, you know, the spending and, you know, the partnerships that come in, that they recognize there's an opportunity, and so they try to coup on that potential investment for economic activity there.
Right.
Okay. So, Minister, of course, we want to touch a bit more, as we mentioned, in terms of what's actually planned for this year's St. Kitts Music Festival, but before we do that, we're going to take our first break.
Okay.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more In Focus. Welcome back to In Focus. We continue our discussion with the minister responsible for the St. Kitts Music Festival, the Honorable Marsha Henderson, and we are talking all about the plans for this year, this exciting show that actually begins tomorrow if you're looking at this live on ZIZ Radio and television. So, Minister, the plans for this year's music festival, and of course it runs from June 27th to the 29th. Let's talk a bit more about that. And persons who are looking live, they would have seen some shots that we took this morning, actually, of the one up at the cricket stadium, where the stage is set up and the booths are set up in terms of our VIP and the other aspects of it. Talk to us a bit about the positioning of the stage now. Is that the same as last year? Because I recognize that there seems to be, I don't know if it's intentional, but that it takes away some of the seating from the stands itself, and it causes everyone to more or less get in the center where they can be closer to the action.
Right. I am not the one to talk on the technical side, but from what I'm told, in positioning the stage, you look at things like the wind, how it affects the sound and all of that. I think we opted this year to go back with the same setup as last year. The stands are in fact available if persons want to sit in the stands and view the festival from there. But of course, it's not a stage show where you sit. The intention is for you to be a part of the festival. So
if you need to take a little rest, you run to the stands.
Of course,
and you come
the stands are available.
Right. And you mentioned, of course, the secondary stage now, that will be over on the football field.
The Festival Village.
Yes. Tell us a bit about the Festival Village. That's a fancy name, I like it.
Yes, the Festival Village. So we have the Festival Junction, we have a Festival Link Up, and we have Festival Village. So the Festival Village was intended, what we found is that the crowd continues to grow. And we really need a home for the festival, and that's something I'm going to ask my team to consider. But in terms of the space for vendors and a comfortable environment for patrons, usually the bars are on the top of the hill. So the show is usually on the ground, and then we usually have the bars going around on the top of what we call the mound, which was not sufficient. Persons were squeezing in, having to stand in the back and say, "Give me a drink, I want a beer." And so we thought maybe we can create a different atmosphere and environment, and we considered, Loftus, who came up with the idea, and I must give him his props.
That's Loftus Bridgewater.
Loftus Bridgewater, king of logistics. And so he recommended, and we agreed that, we're going to try it out. And the vendors, let me tell you, last year when we came to them and we told them, we're going to be bringing your bars over on this side, they were all opposed. They were like, oh, nobody going to come over here by us. We ain't going to got nobody buying with drinks. And at the end of the festival, they came and they were like, Minister, next year, same setup. Don't change nothing. Same setup. So over there's a second stage. It gives the crew who's working on the main stage the opportunity to change over, and the audience isn't bored. So you go over, you grab a drink. Like I said, we have our local cuisine on display. We did all the vendors there who are selling all sorts of local food. You can grab something local, a drink, and even have some form of entertainment over there as well. So it's a different experience, two experiences in one, there's the main stage and the second stage. And it's the same setup as last year.
Okay, so you mentioned that that was the Music Festival Village, but you also mentioned that there was a junction and a third one. What was the other one?
Right, the Link Up.
The Link Up,
and
right.
all of that is in the local promotion. The Music Festival junction is wherever every weekend there's a music festival activity. And so they've had different junctions on 4th Street, down at Port Zante, Bay Road, Nevis, wherever. It's mobile, it moves around. And then the Link Up is usually on, I think it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays on a radio show that yeah, with a different person.
Okay. So, of course, last year there was the introduction of 420,
Right.
the lounge. I think it's called the Highrise Lounge this year. Yes. What best practices from last year is incorporated to this year?
Right. So, firstly, the security issue, we're making sure that we have a proper security so that the space is a safe space, so that persons, because the festival caters for all ages as well, of course, you must be supervised, that is the intention, but something may happen where a child is unsupervised, so we need to make sure that the space is secured and that only persons who are eligible to go into the space gets into the space. Last year we just had some benches, but we're going to nice it up this year. It's going to be a lot more sexy. The recommendation from the National Drug Council as well, they've given us some recommendation in terms of best practices that we shouldn't be mixing alcohol there, because we've had some requests from persons to actually have a bar there. But there's the recommendation not to do that. Ultimately, we want to be able to allow our persons to, you can't buy the marijuana there. Cigarettes, because even though it's a 420 space, it's called Highrise because of its location, it's on the mound, but it's a space intended for any type of smoking, not just for cannabis, but cigarettes. Remember, it's an offense to actually smoke in public. You must be within a prescribed space, and this is the space.
Or vaping as well.
Or vaping as well. So we're hoping to have what you call those things that you light up with.
You mean
whatever the
lighters?
Yeah, lighters.
Right. Okay.
You can tell I'm not. Yes, we're hoping to have lighters.
Branded lighters, or?
Well, I'm not sure if we got the branded ones, but so that persons are not necessarily encouraged to walk with lighters and scissors and
matches.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're hoping you come with your pre-rolled. That's recommended, or you borrow one when you reach, but where it's not going to be on sale there. And you should be able to come with we're hoping 3 to 5 rolls. That should be sufficient. And if you're out after that, you can get one from someone. But it's not on sale. Come pre-rolled, so you don't have to be walking with a scissors to cut up for cannabis, or walk with your, if it's cigarettes, you walk with them in your box, because we're not going to be selling them there as well.
So it's on the mound, as you mentioned, the Highrise Lounge. Now, talk to us a bit about the impact for those who are non-smokers, because, of course, we discussed at length last year, and there was a lot of discussion about it, that the wind may carry the scent and impact
which it did.
persons. So,
it did.
Yeah. So what's in place? Any measures this year that was considered to help to mitigate against some of that?
Right, the 420 space or the high rise is strategically placed where it is, so that the wind actually takes the smoke away from the crowd, and then there's a festival village right there. But by the time it gets into the air, it's it doesn't affect patrons on that side of the venue. So last year it didn't prove to be an issue. We really didn't have any real incidents. People thought that it was going to be a disaster, people going to die, but we really didn't have any issues related to that space.
And in terms of feedback, of course, which is very important, was there any concerns that persons who maybe vaped that they had in terms of being in that area with cannabis? Was there any concerns at all, or did everything run smoothly in that
Nothing,
respect?
none were expressed to us. I'm not sure if they were, but we were not advised of any.
Okay. Now, earlier you mentioned the vloggers. Of course, that would be persons who are influencers on social media, whether it be YouTube, Facebook. They use their cell phones. I'm not sure I have to explain what it is, but some older, mature audiences may not be aware. They take their cell phones or whatever device that they may have, and they record themselves and they share stories. That's quite a bit of it, of the feedback and some of the videos that they would have posted from last year. That will be a part again this year.
Absolutely.
How do you choose the vloggers? How do you decide, okay, that having this person here from whatever country is actually worth them coming here to be a part of the St. Kitts Music Festival experience and being able to help the ministry and help the authority to tell the story?
Right. And so it's a trend that's skyrocketed in terms of influencers. So we have influencers, and we also have the different media houses who are coming. So for this year we have Essence, and we look at the following, the persons who read and follow, support the readership for Essence, and we look to see if those are the persons we're targeting.
Essence is a magazine.
Right.
All right.
And they're also on social media. So outside of the magazine, they also have a following on social media. In terms of influencers, I think what the team does, they look at not just at how many followers you have, but the types of persons as well who are following you on social media. We look at your reach, because that determines how far our brand gets. We look at whether the influencer, if what they're pushing in terms of whether it's lifestyle or food. For example, Restaurant Week, we're having influencers as well, locals, not just international influencers, but local influencers as well. But we look to see if it's consistent with what we're promoting. Our agenda and their agenda is consistent.
Right. Okay. So how do you measure the impact then of these? Because of course you mentioned it's not just the views.
Right.
How do you measure the impact of these bloggers being involved?
We tend to, and this is not my area, this is really those who work in marketing, but we look at I think there's something they look at in terms of following, shares, how many shares it is, how many clicks, and its reach. Its reach, how far the stories of our destination, how far it gets. And so I don't have a following as much as I'm a politician, and I'm sure if I share something on my page, there is not necessarily a big reach in terms of selling St. Kitts, because it's not just to sell the festival, but we're also selling a destination.
Right. Are there any new innovations that were added to this year's concerts or the experience itself? I think you mentioned the acoustic concerts.
That would just be in terms of fringe events. So we added more outside of the festival, because beyond the stage, we have to remember we're selling a destination. And so we've included activities for the week. We were encouraging people to book for the week, not just for the Thursday to Sunday, but those persons would have been able to come for the week, and we had added additional events. Of course, we have those who we partner with, like the White Sands, the Binge Arrival, the Express events, and so we've created a number of events to, entertain our visitors on island as well.
Is there a particular format that's used to determine the number of spread of artists in terms of those that perform per night, as well as to getting the ratio of local, regional, and international?
That is a question that should be asked of the selection committee.
Okay.
I know what the objective is, but I'm not sure if there's a formula. So I'm just familiar with the objectives, and the objectives, like I said, is to make sure that we expose our local talents on the international stage, and to make sure that the acts that are selected can give solid performances and relevance at the time.
Minister, of course, you mentioned that it was designed, the St. Kitts Music Festival was designed to help to uptick the economic activity here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So what opportunities are available for entrepreneurs or local businesses to get involved?
Right, so a number of opportunities. We have engaged a number of stakeholders, the taxi and tour operators. So it's not just a festival, but persons who are coming on island. So we look at stakeholders in tourism, we look at those in, so that's like taxi, tour operators, hotels, we look at restaurants, we look at even those who do concierge services. So we have those who do makeup, nails, those who sell clothes, or, you know, it just trickles down into the economy, and there are a number of opportunities. For example, we had to engage a number of, not just for the artists, but we had to engage a number of service providers to help with even flowers, you know, the different requests made by artists. And so we engage a number of persons, and we hope that there is some major stimulation of the economy as a result of the festival.
3 nights, a very diverse lineup. Anything that jumps out to you in terms of the lineup? Anyone you're excited to see? Yes. Tomorrow is Alkaline. I'm a dancehall fan, and I love Alkaline. I think I know all of his songs. The soca, we have our soca fusion from the region. I love Pumpa was just at the ministry just before he was the one who delayed me, and I had to tell him, you know, I'm rushing. But Pumpa as well, he's almost local, if he can be considered local, and he was there. There's the Asa Banton. I saw him perform in December, and I was super impressed. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning at Inception, but he was really good, and I'm looking forward to his performance. On Friday, of course, Third World, I'm looking to exceptional performance from them. Saturday night as well, Mary J. Blige. I was amazed when I asked a little girl, you know, she was like, Saturday, who's coming Saturday, the Blige person, you know, like, but Mary J. Blige is our time, of course. And I'm looking forward to her performance, as well as, you know, Freddie Jackson. Okay.
So.
And the tickets, it's important to keep the tickets affordable because, of course, as you mentioned, the idea is, of course, to attract persons here, but at the end of the day, locals still must be able to reach into their pockets and say, this is not too pricey for me. I must be able to attend and enjoy the festival as well.
The ticket prices are quite affordable. There was some suggestion for us to take up the cost of the tickets, but we are actually looking at the model of the music festival this year. I've asked the team at the end of this festival, we started this year, earlier in the year, at the end of the festival, we're going to be looking at the model and see if we can be making changes. And when we consider those things, then we're going to look at ticket prices. But so the festival may not look the same next year in terms of the model, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and the formula. So we're looking at it. Of course, we have to do that because I see BVI just introduced a music festival as well. The festivals in the region, they have different models. And so for us to be able to compete, we have to look to see whether this model is in fact sustainable, where we have a number of acts every single night. One night alone, if you look at, and I can be transparent, if you look at the amounts we spend on the music festival, it's almost like $10 million. And so we need to see if this is sustainable when we consider, of course, the economic impact assessments and how we can continue to change the model to make sure that the festival is sustainable as well.
And that's the importance of having the economic assessment done this year as well. Do you care to share a bit more about how that will be carried out? If there's a particular company involved, or what type of activities they're being engaged with?
I think it's a company called CRES. Of course, they'll be working with our people in the ministry and those from the Department of Statistics and the Ministry of Finance. And so we've already put a number of things in place in terms of the surveys and all the other things that need to be done, and the volunteers who are going to be working with us on capturing the data so that we can have the assessment done. So.
Is there a magic number? Is there something that you would like to see coming out of the economic impact assessments that would help to inform the changes to the model that you're referencing?
Yes. The model, when we look at other festivals, for example, in Jamaica there's a Dream Weekend. Ours is a Thursday to Sunday. It started, in fact, the festival has changed because we started with it used to go up to Sunday, and that's because we had the gospel on that night. And at some point in time, was there a Wednesday night?
No,
Okay.
not that I recall, no.
But the structuring and the model needs revisiting. It may or may not change, and may have significant changes, but we will know by October. I've said to the team by October we should have an idea because it affects our budget. going forward. And so the assessment, of course, the economic impact assessment, and all of the other meetings that we're going to do, we intend to do some retreats and some observation of other festivals and see how we can tweak ours to make sure that this festival is sustainable. I mean, it's a 26th edition, but we still have to make sure that, you know, we continue to look at it, go back to the drawing board to see where we can change things, whether we need to carry up ticket costs, as you said, whether we need to be just having one act per night. And of course, we're going to do consultation and get feedback from the members of the public as well, once we decide on a model. So.
And of course, the reports, I imagine the economic impact assessment report, that will be published locally, so everyone will be able to have access to it.
Right, it will be. And we have copies of the ones done over the years as well, but once we have this one, we will make it.
Were those favorable, do you recall, in terms of the ones over the years?
Always, always. It's consistent with what we have been saying in the Ministry of Finance, that the music festival is a good feature for tourism in terms of its objectives. If the objective was to collect the receipts at the gates, then, you know, we might as well pack up shop and go. But if the objective is to increase the visibility of the destination, the objective is to expose our local talents, which has nothing per se to do with tourism, but it has all to do with the creative economy. It's interministerial. But in tourism, clearly, it's to increase visibility of the destination. Those extra flights that we say we bring, oh, we want flights from here, we want flights from here, the flights must come filled. People, when they learn about St. Kitts and Nevis, then they will fill those seats. Those hotels that we have and we're partnering with, we have to get heads in those beds. And if you look at the economic impact assessment, you would see that the music festival is really achieving what it has intended to do. And we might need to make some changes to the model, but the festival has always accomplished what it has intended to do. Last year, for example, we got so much publicity out of the music festival, not just from the artists, but even from the media houses. People knew about St. Kitts. I mean, all the good reviews. And people are saying, like, where was St. Kitts all the time? Because they come for a festival, but they have this cultural experience, you know, a destination, a hidden gem. They come for the festival, but they have the experience of their lifetime. And
that is what makes you want to come back on your own, not just for the festival, but you want to come back to sample a bit more of what is offered here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
And that is the objective, and the economic impact assessment reflects that we are actually achieving those objectives.
Okay, Minister, we'll take our final break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more In Focus.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to In Focus. We are discussing the 26th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we are joined by the Minister responsible for the St. Kitts Music Festival, the Honorable Marsha Henderson. Okay, Minister, earlier you referred to Praise Fest that was held at the Antioch Baptist Church on Sunday, where a number of gospel acts came into St. Kitts and Nevis, and they were able to really uplift the atmosphere in terms of worshiping and giving praise to God, highlighting, of course, his importance to our life. But there's also another prominent event that takes place that is maybe an extension, so to speak, of the St. Kitts Music Festival, and that's White Sands as well. So that takes place on Sunday at Carambola. Talk to us about the importance of the partnerships with White Sands and Praise Fest and the other partners in the St. Kitts Music Festival to helping to enhance the product, not just of the festival, the brand of the festival, but also in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Right, right. And we, you know, I would take this opportunity to thank those who continue to partner with us in, you know, this effort in terms of selling our destination. And highlight the others, not just White Sands, but tonight is Express Events. They have their event as well. Last night was Binge Arrival, and that's another private promoter, and I'm told last night it was an amazing time.
Where was it?
I didn't even go, but I think it was at Palm Courts. It was somewhere, I'm not sure. I like my bed, but from all reviews, persons who attended told me it was well attended. I saw some photos, and so I want to thank those who continue to partner with us. It's important, Ian, because we can't bring people to our destination and expect them to just stay in their beds and show up in the night for the music festival. The festival is from 7 at night to 3 in the morning, and it runs from Thursday to Saturday. But as I've been saying, we've been encouraging people not just to come for those nights, but come early and experience St. Kitts, experience Nevis. And if they're going to come, there must be something for them to do. It makes no sense for them to come Sunday and there's nothing to do, but to wait until Thursday for the festival. So these partnerships we have with private promoters, we value them. We think it adds to the experience, it adds to the tourism product, and it adds to the music festival product itself. And so I want to just thank them, and we look forward to their continued partnership as well.
And of course there are some other added features that makes the experience, as you mentioned, more wholesome. The touristic features, of course there are a number of national sites of interest that persons could go out and visit, but also there's that farm to table experience, where you can get to sample some of the local fresh food that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Again, all important to help to sell the destination, and particularly important as the government is trying to sell St. Kitts and Nevis and transform it into a sustainable island state. That means being able to sustain yourself, and that would include being able to produce more food, to be able to enhance the culture. Talk to us a bit about that.
Right, and so in tourism we understand our role in transitioning our island into a sustainable island state. We realize as well it's not something that we can do on our own. And so what we've been doing in terms of when we create the product, or we work on the creation of the tourism product, we work with other ministries. You speak about food security, farm to table, we energy sector. We're doing an amazing job. Hopefully we can transition quickly into where we no longer rely on the fossil fuel type of energy, but we can have the green energy. And so even in tourism, we understand the importance of transitioning. It means that is the only way we can be a sustainable destination, because if we don't transition, we won't even have a destination to sell. We won't have somewhere to live. More importantly, in tourism, we won't have a destination to sell. And so in tourism, we have a Sustainable Destination Council. It comprises local and government and NGOs, a number of persons who make up the council, where we encourage our stakeholders and our visitors to embark upon sustainable practices. And it's been working. We've been seeing the results. We had a property, for example, Sunset Reef Hotel, which was awarded this most sustainable property within the region. And they were acknowledged because of their sustainable practices. They have their own way of getting water and energy. We also are partnering with the Ministry of Environment on we had the first ban of single-use plastic. And so we've been saying that when I go to meet with the cruise lines, when people think of liming, I like to make sure I add in this part, because I don't respond on social media, but when I get the opportunity, I use it. So for here, when people think I'm liming, I'm meeting with partners internationally, and they want to know. Things like that determine where they send their ships. What is St. Kitts doing? Recently, about 2 weeks ago, my CEO was in a meeting, and the cruise liners were told that IMO, that is the International Maritime Organization, is now mandating that ships in port must turn off their engines. Now, that is going to be a challenge for cruise ships, because unless there's shore power, they're turning off so that they don't have the emissions. But if there's clean energy, and ships now are required to be built a certain way, so that they don't have these emissions. We have shore power on Pier 1. Pier 1, and me gonna talk the politics up here. This is Pier 1 was constructed before Pier 2. Pier 1 has shore power. Shore power simply means that ships can come and plug into the shore power, and not use the energy that they have on board. Now, we are not in a position as much as we have shore power, because we don't even have enough power to supply, you know, our tiny nation. And so in tourism, we also have to come up with solutions, and our partners want to know these things. So we're going to be introducing, and I don't want to jump the gun, but SKSPA, which falls under tourism, has already embarked on another way to provide energy at our ports, both at the airports and at the seaports. We encourage our visitors, our stakeholders, based on what the Ministry of Environment says, to help us transition. We have the first ban on single-use plastic, and they're happy to hear that. When we say to our partners, not just cruise lines, but elsewhere, our other partners, they are happy. And that is what makes us attractive. For Music Festival, we are going to have a number of recycling bins around the festival. So you're going to see the bins on site. And we had intended, but we didn't get the chance to work with our vendors so that they can use the plates and cups that are recyclable. Now, the thing is, they're more expensive than the other ones. And so we had intended to make sure that the concessions and all the other things were in place, but next year we're going to put that in place for them. And we understand, like I said, in tourism, we have our role to play in creating a sustainable destination and a sustainable island state. Not just for the music festival, but our coastal erosion on our coasts, how we maintain our natural heritage sites, how we preserve them so that they don't rot. We understand all of that as well. And so it's a priority for us. It's something that we have high on our agenda, and we would make sure that we carry out our part in this transitioning.
Now, the challenge that you just mentioned in terms of course, energy production, the Prime Minister, of course, he is having a state visit in Taiwan, and there were discussions about, of course, a solar farm that is being constructed. Of course, there's also an agreement that was signed about that. There is additional investments that have been sought from the Saudis to assist with geothermal. There were 2 new generators that were purchased as well too, that are more green in terms of cutting down on the emissions. So all of those things are helping to move St. Kitts and Nevis towards a sustainable island state. And I imagine that would help to serve the destination when it comes not just to the St. Kitts Music Festival, but also to partners who are concerned about, should I say visitors, that is, and then partners as well too, of course.
Environmental responsibility.
Nevis, right, we do business with the international community, about cutting down your carbon footprint, about being able to not impact the environment, because it affects all of us. We look at the extreme heat taking place right now. And that's a consequence, according to the experts, of climate change.
Without any other explanation, that is the only logical conclusion, that it is a result of climate change. And not just the heat, but when you look at our shores. I was driving on the Old Road Bay, and I was saying to my son, Liam, Mommy might be dead and gone, but in 50 years where this road is, if we don't take corrective action or we don't take some sort of action, the ocean is going to come back in, and this road, the water is going to be where the road is. And so in tourism and with environment, we've embarked on the Koi Coastal Rehabilitation Initiative, and it's going to go from Koi all the way around. If you go to Koi, a hotel in the industry, the ocean is now in on their lawn, and it will continue to come in if we're not cognizant and we don't take action. If we want to sit back and say, oh, climate change ain't real, we will see. But we see it daily, and unless somebody can give me some other explanation, I'm going to have to work with, this is climate change, these are the steps we need to make, and this is what we need to do to have a destination and to have an island.
So we'll continue to see the greening of the St. Kitts Music Festival. One of the points that Minister responsible for the environment, the Honorable Joyelle Clark, Dr. Joyelle Clark, mentioned is that, you know, when you go to festivals overseas, in the region, of course, this is nothing new for them, that they're accustomed to not have these single-use plastics. And while St. Kitts and Nevis is a bit behind in terms of the OECS, we're the last to implement it, it's important moving forward.
Right, it requires a cultural change, and we can't just throw it on our people. We have to do it in a phased approach. And I think our people are catching on, even me. I mean, I still want to grab onto plastic bags. I don't even want Dr. Clark to hear me, but you know, you still hog the plastic bags. But it's a cultural shift, and a shift happens over time. And if we continue to embark on sustainable practices, whether it's in tourism or otherwise, we will transition. And we are going to transition. We don't have a choice if we're to survive. So.
Okay. Minister, talk to us a bit about the partnership now that is taking place between the Ministry of Tourism and others. You mentioned the creative economy, for instance, in terms of being able to pull together a festival like this, because I imagine, you know, creative, it's right up their avenue in terms of especially the local talent.
Right, and you know, I want to big them up with a partner with all the other ministries, not just in music festival, but in every aspect. So for the music festival, however, last year we had the creative economy who was responsible for the welcoming experience at the park, where they had the local artisans on display. So when visitors come to the festival, they could taste a tamman ball, taste some tamman jam, sugar cake, and you know, all the other local delicacies that we have. And it was just on display. That was the 25th edition, and of course we ain't got them kind of money in we budget all the time, and we thank the creative economy for using monies out of their budget to help in the execution of the festival. The reality, however, is that budgets are low, not just for us, but for the creative economy. And so we're going to be partnering, but in a smaller way. Last year was the 25th edition, and so it was grand. We had sugar cake and all the other nice things to give our visitors, to take away a taste of St. Kitts. So not just the creative economy, but we partner with the Ministry for Infrastructure, and I've said to the Minister, you know, we got people on the island, we want the little current, and you know, I know we have a long-term plan to make sure that the issues that got us where we are now, because we aren't here just because it happened one time, it happened over time. And so we're partnering with all the ministries to make sure that the festival can be executed successfully. Even the police force, they're working overtime, that's national security, to make sure that we don't have any real threats. And you know, all the other ministries, we understand that it's one goal to make St. Kitts look good.
And of course, this is your second year being at the head of the St. Kitts Music Festival in terms of the ministerial responsibility. How have you found it?
I don't even know if I've had time to do an assessment in terms of how I found it, but I have an amazing team. And the PS was saying to me, you know, Minister, I just watch the team and see how they all, you know, jump on board and get the task, you know, executed. They step up all the time, both in the ministry, those at SKSPA, those at the authority, and even our sister agencies in Frigate Bay and Urban Development Corporation. They all jump on board, and it's been an experience. I think we have an opportunity to blaze a path in terms of how we want our destination to look, and the team is doing an excellent job. It's hard work, a lot of work, a lot of work, major sacrifices, I mean, as the minister. But it's been an enjoyable experience for the most part. For the most part, it has been an enjoyable experience. Not just music festival, but just working with the teams in tourism.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned the possibility of the model changing, and you also mentioned, of course, the greening of the festival as we continue to go forward. Is there anything else looking forward that we may expect to see changes for the St. Kitts Music Festival that would be forthcoming?
I don't want to say no, but of course we're going to be doing some consultations, and we want members of the public to weigh in on, you know, some persons have already approached us and started saying what they think, how it should look. Some persons, for example, I can say, I'm not going to say how it's going to look, but I can say what some persons have said so far. They're like, let's make this a party. It could be one night, could be a nice pool party, as opposed to a stage-to-stage show. But you have a festival, a weekend, festival weekend, and one night could actually be like some, a different pool party. Somebody had said a sound clash. Another person said a sound clash. Why don't we do Friday night just as sound for sound, a different format. But we have to look at whether the approach of having like 10 artists per night, is sustainable, and if it allows us to compete with other festivals in the region, because they too have different models. So, and Creative Economy also has a mandate to have shows. We want to create an experience as well.
If you're standing still, you're not moving, you're not
at all.
Right. Okay, Minister, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us for
this
edition of InFocus. Yes, we are out of time, unfortunately. Yes. It was a wonderful conversation.
Always a pleasure.
Of course, and we would want to have you back. We do have some ideas in terms of discussion for the minimum wage,
right,
the Productivity Council, and other labor matters, which of course that you lead as well.
Just let me know, and I will be here.
Right.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, Minister.
Yes.
I would like to thank you, viewers and listeners, for joining us for this edition of InFocus. We trust that you will join us next week at the same place, at the same time. I'm Ian Richards.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the SKNIS Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.